I want to say, what up, everyone? How y'all doing? We have made it to MAGFest finally. I've been waiting for this for like 2 years. We went through a lot of crap to get here, but we are here. We had some fun in the meantime on the internet, which is what our panel is about today. The title of this panel is How Virtual Concerts Saved the VGM Community. That was just basically all hook you all in. But we're going to talk about virtual concerts the last couple of years and what the impact was, and what we liked, what we didn't like, and mostly who kicked some ass during the last couple of years. A lot of you all did. I see some performers in the crowd as well as fans. I guess I'm going to introduce everyone starting at the far end over there.
Hi, how's it going, guys? My name is Austin. I am an organizer for an event called VGM Con out of Minneapolis. We did our first online event in 2021, VGM Conline, and we were very surprised and pleasantly so about how successful it was. And we're really looking forward to doing in person in 2022. Fingers crossed. And yeah, really excited. Thanks for having me, Kent.
Absolutely. I actually just met Austin yesterday in the Belvedere Lounge. I was like just schmoozing with everyone, and he introduced me as Austin from VGM Con. I know his partner Vaughn, so I was like, "Hey, you want to be on this panel?" And I asked the fellas and also Alyssa if that was cool, and they were cool with it. So here we go. We got Austin after meeting him about less than 24 hours ago, so that's awesome. And next to Austin, we got someone that you all probably know.
Hey, everybody. My name is Raheem. I go by Mega Ran. I'm musician, author, among other things. And this past year, or at least year plus, we started experimenting with online concerts, from doing Twitch stuff to moving to YouTube and other spaces and trying to figure that out. And I feel like we've gotten a decent, footing in that space. And it's honestly something that I really never saw coming, or at least not being successful or profitable or worth anyone's time. But we've found a way to make it very interesting and new. And it's been exciting. So happy to be here.
And up next is the Nerdcore Titan Slayer himself.
How you guys doing? Can you hear me out there? All right, let me hear you say ho. I didn't really think y'all were gonna do that, but thank you. Dag nabbit. Yes. So I'm IQ, and I'm the founder of Bytes and Beats. And, we've also been doing things online for quite some time. And during the pandemic, I decided to try to be proactive and started helping artists to explore Twitch and things of that nature and streaming. Since then, we've also thrown some events, and we did a Juneteenth festival, which was featured on the front page of Twitch. Awesome. And it did really, really well. So this is a space that I highly, especially since we have some artists in the crowd, I highly recommend, because with COVID obviously not going anywhere because it's a fighter, we will definitely be going back and forth. And I think that the future of what we do will be in these type of events and hybrid events.
And up next is my stage manager for my events.
Hi guys, my name is Alyssa. I work with Kent with Ongaku Overdrive, and we sort of had a similar mindset with everything going on with COVID. We were like, well, we still want to put shows on, and that's something that we found to be fun, and this was something, it was a good opportunity, I think, for all of us to just keep performing and, get it moving. And so we've been doing it since, what was our first show?
June in 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, and IQ was on that show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I was.
You were on our first show. So yeah, we're just really happy to talk about it. And, if you are thinking about putting on your own shows, or if you're an artist and you want more opportunities to perform, we're always looking for artists, and it's going to be a good time. So it's very rewarding, I think.
And last but not least, I am Kent Ward. I run Ongaku Overdrive. We put on video game, music, and nerdcore concerts in Orlando, Florida. We've been doing it since 2013. We got to pull off one show in early 2020, right before things went crazy. We had no idea what we were going to do. Some people were trying virtual shows at the time, but early on, I didn't think any of them were good until I saw this guy named Josh Pendlebury of the Runaway 4 do something really cool called bonus stage. And when I saw that in action and that it actually worked and that people were into it, I was like, all right, we could probably do something like that with Ongaku Overdrive with our Twitch channel that we already had established. So I started talking to Josh through Lauren, the flute of the returners, and Josh was really awesome with showing me and telling me how he did a lot of things so we can get things up and running with our series called Virtual Ongaku. We've done like 12 of them. A couple of them were charity events, which are awesome. We're going to try to have a mix of those as well as our live shows in Orlando throughout this year. Hopefully the pandemic doesn't screw that plan up, but we will still do virtual shows no matter what. So I guess to get things started, about almost 2 years ago, we were all feeling good. We were here at MAGFest where we had a lot of great momentum, all of us. We're planning to have a really freaking awesome year. We had just had our most successful live event to date just prior to that. So we're planning for an awesome 2020. And then things went bad with this virus and events right and left started shutting down. I think South by Southwest was the first casualty, right?
First big one, I think.
Yeah, I think South by, then GDC, and like everything that I normally would plan for would just started crumbling, and I was probably in the worst place there could be. I was performing on the Joko cruise, so I was literally at sea, and we're all like, no one's gonna turn on the TV, no one's gonna get on the internet. We don't want to know what's happening in the world. And then someone, I guess, broke our pact, and then we found out about Tom Hanks, and then we found out about the NBA, and then it was just one thing after another. And so my last performance, I was kind of happy to say, it was in the Dominican Republic, which was pretty cool to say for a long time. But yeah, I think that was the beginning of kind of the end and forcing us to really have to rethink what we were doing.
Now, what I thought was really interesting, I talked to Austin down the way. They actually were hosting VGM Con in 2020 right as things were starting to shut down. What was that weekend like for you, Austin?
It was pretty wild because that was the first weekend of March 2020. So it was kind of the point where everybody was like hearing about this thing that might be coming, but it hadn't quite hit yet. And like Sunday, as we're like tearing down, it was like, yeah, I think everything's going to be closed like next week. And sure enough, it was. So we got super lucky. We were like the very last thing. That was the last show I played before everything closed down. But we were lucky. Everybody was super, super safe, and albeit uninformed, we lucked out.
So I guess moving right along. So things shut down, all these conventions are gone. So we're all trying to figure out what we're going to do. So I guess like I told my story, I saw Josh do it. I was like, I wanted to keep doing stuff. I don't want to just sit on my butt. Like those first 3 months of the pandemic absolutely sucked. Because I'm someone who likes to just constantly do things. I like to be a part of events. I like to run events. I like to go to concerts, conventions, all that stuff. I'm not sort of just sits idle. So it's like everything's done for like a little while. So it's like, okay, we thought it was just going to be the spring. Then it became the summer. Then it became question mark. So it's like, what we're going to do. So I saw what Josh was doing, and I thought that was a great way to service the community that we already had built with Ongaku Overdrive and find a way for acts that we've worked with to perform and, continue earning money somehow. So the first show we did was, it was super cool, but I want to know, I guess thinking about it in retrospect, I'm glad we did. I wish we did it a lot sooner because for me, it's been an incredibly magical time. So I got to meet a lot of amazing people through the internet, form some really good relationships, but I got to also find out about a lot of acts that I had never heard of. Like, I know the acts are on main stage at MAGFest and the ones that come to Orlando, but I learned from the virtual shows that there's just a wider community of musicians in our, field, I guess, in our scene than I had thought. So when you guys started doing these, what was your approach to virtual shows and what were your goals early on?
Same kind of. I started a weekly show, which probably was a bit much to take on, but I just wanted to increase my live stream presence. So I really ramped up on Twitch, and I started doing a weekly show called Random House, and where I was basically just stream from my house and maybe zoom in with another artist and talk to them and let them play a concert live. And of course, it started off with our hiccups and everybody not necessarily knowing how to do things and sound quality issues and things like that. And I feel like they got better and better as we went on, but I was able to get a lot of my friends, like people that people knew, the Open Mic Eagles and Samuses of the world, but also people that people maybe didn't know, and be able to get them to talk, to play their music. We would sit and do an interview. We'd take Q&As from the chat. And so I would do them every week. And, I just noticed that with a week's notice, I didn't have enough time to really innovate and make these things extra special. So we started scaling back to maybe monthly. But yeah, my goal was just to expose my audience to new acts, because originally it was just me rapping. And I mean, I love hearing me rap, but maybe not every week. Like, are you going to go to the same concert every week? Like, maybe not. So I started playing the opener to a lot of my acts, where I was like, I'll just DJ, or I will play one song and then introduce them and let them kind of take over the show. And myself and a talented producer, Quelle Chris, we put together a TV style presentation. We felt like, let's do commercial breaks and make them funny, and and read letters so that people would send in to us, and make it kind of a variety show out of it. And that was a lot of fun. And then the idea then morphed into the Four-Eyed Horseman, which was with MC Lars, MC Frontalot, Schaefer the Dark Lord. And we started creating concerts based on our lineup, which we had toured with, and I think that gave us a really fun way of doing it, where we do it monthly, but we would pick a theme. We'd make sure to stick within our theme and have a lot of fun with creating. And that's really what it was. It was for me to expose my audience to something different, and to keep them entertained and kind of coming back. So that was my initial goal.
How about you, IQ? You went right in hardcore with a festival, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, before the festival, I was doing little things here and there. So on the kind of indie rap side of things, like outside of nerdcore, I had a bunch of friends, like Shinobi and all the rest of those guys. And at the time, they had a bunch of shows that got canceled. So what ended up happening was they were trying to find ways to keep doing what they were doing, and I was already streaming on Twitch.
Yeah.
And so, even with Josh at the very beginning, me and Josh went back and compared notes and started talking about, before he actually started doing what he was doing, what he would need and how it could get done. So basically, what I found was that lots of artists wanted to actually go online and try, but a lot of them were more scared. So I said, okay, well, if you don't think that it's possible, I'll show you. And literally started doing little things here and there. I started DJing. I started playing little shows of my own. But literally, my friend Cub wanted to do he was very ambitious, and he wanted to do this thing because they couldn't do an actual show. So he wanted to do a small festival, right? And we started off on Skype, right? Because I figured out, not Skype, what's the other one?
Zoom.
Zoom. We started on Zoom because I would just do experimentation all the time because I had equipment at the crib. So I'd keep trying to find ways to send a signal to make music go through everything, well. And so I figured out how to do it. And so we didn't know how to specifically do a festival at first. And so basically I went through and I taught every artist that participated how to stream to me so we could stream the whole show.
Yeah.
And I would be the engineer. And that's kind of like how it started. And then people saw that we did it. And I just got phone call after phone call like, hey, when you guys do this again, I'd love to participate. And it was like, look, guys, it's great to do this. But if we're trying to find ways to live, then we have to find ways to monetize it as well. So then I started telling the artists about Twitch and places that they could actually monetize what they would do. Mm-hmm. From there, the festival myself that I wanted to do started off as something that we did the year prior. So we did a Juneteenth festival before, the year before it got actually passed as a law, and all that other good stuff. And it started off as I just wanted to feature more artists of color. So I got together, started finding a bunch of people that were, artists that people may not have known. Not that I'm the biggest person, but I'm like, okay, well, I can shine light on other people that aren't known as well and do something where people is like, look, there are so many great artists of color out there that you don't know and you haven't seen and you haven't had the opportunity to hear. And so that's where it started. I wanted people to hear their voices. And I said, okay, well, if I can do it through me, then we can put this together and do it in a way. And it went over pretty well. It went better than I thought, to where people wanted to do it the next year, and I didn't want to tell anybody no. So many people had asked about doing the event, and literally I spoke with Substantial at the time, and I was talking about potentially doing it in a physical place, and that was no longer a thing, and I was kind of bummed about it. So Stan was like, well, I tell you what, if you actually do this thing, right, you can do it online, and I'll be your first act. So when he was like, he was down, he supported what I was doing, and he'd be my first act, I was like, you know what? Then I'm gonna start with my network. And then I just started like calling people that I knew and people that, you know, like I felt were very great at what they did and may not have been seen as well. And so I said, okay, well, I can't just do one day anymore. I gotta do more than one day because I didn't want to tell anybody no who wanted to be involved. So even Rand, I called him early on in the process, and he was like, look, if you do it, I'll come. You know, it was like, but do it. So that's the thing that I want to stress the most, right? Is that you get so afraid of a thing because you're not seeing what you want to see, right? That the most important thing you have to understand is that it's important to start, right? Like nothing can happen if you don't start. And so we did it, and it didn't go so great at first, right?
It's a learning process for everyone.
Yeah. It was a huge learning process. So many things, so many people, like, you know, that didn't follow through and things that didn't happen to the point where I was discouraged and I was almost ready to quit. And I remember I talked to you about something. And literally I just said, you know what, no matter what happens, I'm going to see it through to the end, right? And it went so much better than I expected, and everything started going in a positive direction. And sometimes we don't see that, and we get worried about how it's going to look or who's going to show up or any of that stuff. And first and foremost, right, we all make music. We love what we do, and we want to continue doing it. And so I just want to be able to continue doing that. And then when it went well, like so many people got exposure to other people and people who do this. There are people here right now, like as a result, right, that got seen by people who don't normally see them, but are great at what they do. And that's what it's about for me. There's so much more of this world that we don't get to explore. But I'll cut it right there.
Yeah.
I know I'm
So I think one of the other things that was important to note, like there are already musical acts on Twitch and YouTube that weren't getting live performances at MAGFest or anywhere else that were making their own stage on Twitch and stuff, right? And some of them are in the audience right now, and some of them have been at MAGFest in the Belvedere Ballroom and on main stage this year, which is awesome. So all those guys were ready to go and knew what to do. And one of the things I loved about this community is how quick everyone was able to mobilize and teach everyone who didn't know how to stream their sets to the internet, whether it be DJ sets or, you know, solo instruments or full-on bands. Like there's someone who figured it out and was like able to just teach all their peers, and the knowledge just passed. Like videos will go up on YouTube. Ro Panagani wrote a great article on how to get started on the Game Grooves website. So shouts to Ro for that, because he's one of the guys early on that was really good about getting people figured in. Same thing with Josh Pendlebury of Runaway 4, like we mentioned before, bonus stage. Like he was teaching a lot of us how to do the streaming stuff, and him and I were just going back and forth on ideas of how to make our shows better. And he gave me a lot of great advice early on. So him I greatly appreciate. But like when we started, we stuck with what we knew. We had like guys like IQ, Professor Shy Guy, Mark with a C.
Lauren the Flute was on the first show.
Lauren
too.
the Flute has been a massive asset and help with what we've been doing with Virtual Ongaku. I feel like if it wasn't for me reaching out to her and her connecting me to Josh, that who knows what would have happened. So Lauren's been a big factor behind our success, you know? So very lucky to have her. And I feel like there were some other acts early on that we just knew really well. And then we wanted to see, all right, who else is there? And over there, we saw Lacey Johnston on one of those early bonus stage shows. And I was like, holy shit, there's this lady. She's like rocking guitar and singing and has this amazing stream setup. So it's like, all right, who are all these other acts that are out there and that we can, like, you know, expose to our audience? Because our audience in Orlando has only seen who we've brought. And I've always been like, hey, what are some other acts you guys want to see? And they're like, well, we don't know. We like who you bring down. You bring Mega Ran down again?
They always ask for Mega Ran.
Yeah.
They always ask for Mega Ran. I mean,
That is a
I'm one of
fact.
them, but also I will always ask for Mega Ran.
But there's like more than me. Yeah, there's more folks out there. So many more talented.
Talented people out there in the community, and like this has just been such an amazing experience to connect and just be like, I've never heard of this person before. Like Tara C, I know she performed earlier.
Yeah.
She's amazing, and that was like, you know, I hadn't really heard of a lot of her stuff, so I think this is like, again, if you're an artist and you're looking for shows, this is a really good way to get exposure. It's a really good way to connect to other people and other acts, and collabs are always fun. So
Yeah.
So I kind of have a
example of that because we did the second virtual Ongaku show, and like right after her set, like people in Orlando were sliding into my DMs like, "Yo, this Lacey chick is fucking awesome. You need to bring her to Orlando." And that happened repeatedly. And when people actually, it's very rare where I get feedback like that for our shows. So when a bunch of people do that in a very like quick burst, I pay attention to that because that means like, okay, they're telling me what they want, and we love giving our fans at our shows what they want to see. You know, we just want to expand the palette, so it's not just, you know, Mega Ran and Bitgrade, who I love those acts, but there's other acts to love too, you know. So
for sure.
that ended up when we got the chance to do a live show, Lacey coming down to Orlando, and people were ready for her. They knew who she was from the virtual concerts, and they all came in and showed some love, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So here's I guess a bit of a sort of a question or something I would love to hear you guys, event runners, talk about.
Yeah.
As much as I want to, you know, shine light on new amazing artists, I also want to make sure that those artists are compensated for their time.
Yeah.
So how, you know, how do you guys figure these things out? Especially with a show like a Twitch show where everyone is able to, you know, view and where, you know, payment is like optional, you know what I mean, for things like that. So what we started doing was creating a private, you know, viewing link. Like if people wanted to watch, we would create a private YouTube link and send it out to them a couple hours beforehand and sell tickets through like a site like Universe or maybe through our own sites or build our own.
Kind of like a private, like how a traditional show
to
would
make it
go.
a more traditional. So I feel like there has to be some bridge between the traditional model and the online model that still, I think, allows artists to be compensated, you know. So what do you guys that run events like think on that?
We did fundraisers for every stream that we've done, usually through Streamlabs, which I know is a controversial platform right now, but we did use it for all our shows up until that point to raise money because they made it very easy to donate. You can link to a site, people donate, it gets displayed up on our stream through widgets, so people can feel good about themselves donating, having their name on the screen. But at the end of the show, you know, all the donations are split up between the acts. And what we would do on our end is obviously promote donations, but also have prize raffles to just send out prizes, whether it be our merch or I would just gift Bandcamp albums of the acts featured to the winners of raffles. Sometimes someone like my partner Stellarnan, she would make art or sculpt art that we would ship out to a lucky winner, you know. So
And it's all amazing art.
Yeah.
It's great. She's very, very talented. And
Yeah, she's awesome.
plus we like donate money to like try to get Kent to like do other stuff like eat a chip.
Oh yeah, I did the one. Yeah, I did the one chip challenge.
The chip
on
challenge.
Stream, so it's like we hit a goal. I would do the one chip challenge on stream. So that was quite an experience.
I think one of my favorite ones was when they made you do the squats.
Oh, like
That
100
happens
squats.
so often, actually.
Yo,
like it'll
100
just be
squats.
like, oh, you want 100 squats? Like donate $20.
100.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
the squats.
Yeah. Austin, you're gonna say something?
Yeah, so our experience with VGM Con, you know, we started out as an in-person event and we would do things in kind of a more traditional way where it's like, okay, we're going to bring you in, we're going to sign a little agreement, we're going to give you a hotel room, or we're going to pay you this little amount or whatever to play or whatever. And we're small and we're growing. We don't have a lot to work with, but we, you know, it's like part of our mission to compensate people. But when we went to the online thing, it was totally a new frontier for us. We're kind of taking advantage of the fact like, okay, well, it's April 2021. All these talented people have kind of figured out a way to put on concerts of their own from Twitch, from their homes. So we're just going to say, hey, just, you know, stream to us. We're going to put it all together into an event. We're going to take advantage of you figuring this all out throughout this pandemic. And we're going to turn it into like a, you know, virtual convention. But when we ran VGM Con Line, it was a charity event. So we were raising money for a charity, and we were blown away. We raised $10,000 in like 4 days.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
Which was awesome. And So we were kind of doing everything in good faith. We weren't paying performers to appear. It's something that we want to do in the future because it's, like I said, a big part of our mission to like properly compensate artists. But one thing that was really cool was we gave artists a couple of different options. So the way we set up our stream, it was possible for artists to multi-stream to their own channels at the same time as to ours. So let's say a streamer has a setup for donations or tips or fun alerts and stuff like that on their own channel. Those could still run while they were performing for VGM Con. And they could be taking tips privately during their performance or outside of their performance hours even. And we were trying to encourage that from people, support these artists. Obviously, we're shouting out their links and things like that, things that are not as concrete, I guess, as here's some money. But yeah, there's some cool solutions coming along. I know Kent mentioned that Streamlabs is kind of in hot water, but Ko-fi is really cool. If you guys are familiar with Ko-fi, that's probably something that we will work with for 2022 because we are planning to do a hybrid event, in person and online at the same time. And we definitely want the compensation thing to be part of the conversation this time for online, since we won't be doing a charity thing.
I do think the charity aspects of our events have been cool. So we've all done it. IQ raised quite a bit of money for his last Juneteenth show. We've done a couple of charity events. Rand has done some as well.
Yeah.
And Austin mentioned just now that VGM Con is done. I think it's really cool when we get together and, we love raising money for arts. And we also like having acts perform and give people a good time, whether it be in person or through the internet. But I think, there's a lot of great causes out there, and there's people out there who are struggling that need help, whether it be marginalized groups or just, sick kids or whatever. So I've always thought it was really good when we've gone together every now and then and just do a big charity event and have all sorts of dope acts come in. And you all come through and just like donate money to help out kids or whoever needs to help. So I want to thank you all for like participating in that.
Yeah.
So I want to say that we've kind of been all over the place with our events. We've done some where we haven't compensated because there was nothing to compensate. We've done some where we've raised money for great things. And as time went on, because at the beginning of this, none of us knew how to monetize. So we were just trying to figure out ways to help the artists and monetize. At the very beginning, it was more like us pushing the artist. So in other words, like we throw up a PayPal link or, something to be like, hey, like you can get their merch here. So that's kind of how we started at first, where it was like we couldn't necessarily figure out who was bringing in more money at first. And some artists wanted to like, well, like if I make this during my set, this is what I want. Right. Yeah. And it was kind of like finding out a fair way to do that at first was like, okay, well, you know what? Then each person gets their own link. Right. You put your link up and the people donate what they want to you and you keep it. Right. But at the same time, everybody's given the same amount of time. Now we can talk about who brings more value to a thing versus who doesn't. But ultimately, we started trying to like do exactly that. Right. Where you get your time, you get your slot, you bring your people. Right. Yeah. And that seemed really fair. Yeah. And other times we did the exact opposite, where it was like we split it between everybody. But sometimes that gets a little dicey the more people you have on a thing. So then that became like, okay, we need to start figuring out how this structure should look. So now we'll limit, a show to maybe this many people because last time the split didn't work out so great. Little things like that, where it's helped. And, depending on who you're working with, you want to kind of move in a direction that's a little more fair to them. Yeah. Some people coming to your stream, they'll get a guarantee of X amount, right? And we want to make sure that everybody is being helped. Not all the time do you get, I guess, if you do a paid stream, you might not get as many people as you do on a free stream. Yeah. So for some people, different models work different ways, and you have to figure out which model is going to work the best for you and the group that you've cultivated, right? It could be you do one free one a month and one paid one a month, right? So that way we already know that there are ways that you can still grow as an online entity, but you can also do something where like, okay, well, these people are coming in and I can take care of this. So, it's still a work in progress. But once again, I think the first thing is identifying what model works best for the people that are coming to what you do.
Yeah. I actually have a question for Rand, because the Four Eyed Horseman shows, you guys did set up a ticketing system. So what was the process of that, and what were your experiences with motivating fans to not only tune in but buy a digital ticket to your shows?
It honestly isn't easy, but it's just like I'm promoting anything else. Like some people really hate self-promotion, and I understand it, and I'm one of those. So having to, we just have to really push it. Like, hey, if you want to see the concert, we obviously can't come to your town, but you can see this no matter where you are, And we've had people from Australia just that come to every event, and they're just like, I never would have seen you, so I'll gladly give you $5-10. So we do an early bird, $5 ticket. Then we did a $10, maybe for the last few weeks leading up to the event. Then we had tiers, where that would go up and up. You get a video on demand, a VOD at like $15 or whatever, where you can watch it anytime. You get a link to see it anytime. And then we would add merch, where we would start mailing off CDs. We mail off USBs. We make a T-shirt, and then we would do a different theme T-shirt every month, and just to try to incentivize people wanting to make that purchase, And we found a ticketing system. We use a site called Universe, which later was bought by Ticketmaster, so we stopped using them. Because if you know anything about Ticketmaster, it's fees. And so we just looked at the numbers. They tell you like how much you're making, and also how much you're like giving them in fees. And I'm like, oh my God, it's almost equal. Like we're giving them the same amount of money in fees. And so we're like, we got to get out of this. So on our last show, we finally figured out a new way, and it was through Square, which is the credit card swiping app. You can set up event links and things like that. So the Frontalot, I think, came up with that, and I believe there were no fees. So we finally found a way to avoid fees, but it just took a long time. But any site, Eventbrite, Brown Paper Tickets, any of them are going to have fees, So it's just which devil you want to give to. But yeah, we found that Square was the easiest for that. And we get a certain number. We hit a threshold. Usually, like you said, less people are definitely coming than would come if it was a totally free show. However, you get to equally compensate everyone. We add an opener every month. We had Sky Blue last month. IQ's also done it, a ton of other folks. And we make sure to compensate them. Everyone gets an equal split. Like it works out really well. And it may be a percentage of what you would normally get, but it feels special for those people who were there. And then we started adding a Zoom call at the end. So it's like what do we call it? We call it drinks, post-show drinks. We're like, all right, grab a drink, and we'll sit down and talk about the show together on Zoom. And we cheers to a successful show, and they ask questions, and we hang out for an hour. And so yeah, it's been very successful. But yeah, it's tough just kind of coming up with a new thing every month to do and figuring it out. But yeah, we had a really good time on Christmas. So second year in a row, we did a Boxing Day show, which is the day after Christmas. And, we theme it however we want to theme it. But the original trouble was everyone had to be live, because we didn't think about the idea of getting people to pre-record. So we'd hit the usual technical difficulties, with people who didn't have, experience doing it. But now we ask for a pre-recorded set from our openers, which eliminates any sort of, technical stuff that can come up. But yeah, it's just finding the right thing that people are comfortable with, and not giving a company a ton of money in fees. It's like, that was a huge thing for us. We're like, I don't want people to have to pay a ton in fees. Like, so yeah, we finally figured out a way. Is there a question? Mm-hmm. Opinion on it? Well, I mean, that's a very good point. Me, especially like when I do a thing like a freestyle, which is directly connected to crowd participation, I need to see what people are thinking. But at most shows, I mean, you play for a crowd of 100 or 200 or 300, 400. You're not stopping to hear each person's comment, like, oh, I really like that song. Oh, you do? Oh, thank you, Will 23. You know, you're not necessarily in a real life experience. We're not stopping the show for each individual comment. So yes, they're missing a little bit of that indirect feedback, but you probably won't get that at a concert either, you know, and maybe you would in a small room. So I would prefer for it to be totally live. Correct. Because I do like to say, hey, put an emote in the chat, like do a particular thing and I want to see it, you know, and, oh, I see you over there. You said you're from California, you know, and I really love the instant feedback. And I think doing the freestyle in that way is super fun, you know, with the chat, you know, but I don't necessarily think most acts need it in order to make the show better. But I'd like to keep a little bit of suspense. Like you don't know if it's live or you don't know if it's recorded, you know? Like, you don't know.
I'd like to bring up a thing too, right? Like on the opposite side, I'm gonna be a little bit selfish and tell you the first real show that I did that was pre-recorded was amazing for me, right? Because I got to do a thing that I never ever get to do. I got to see people's reactions. And that for me was a huge thing, right? Because people always talk about certain things pertaining to my performances, but I never get to see it, right? So even seeing people talk in real time for me was great. So I've sometimes gone back and forth. The other part I like about pre-recording sometimes is that I get to do something special and something different, right? Because I'm putting work into a pre-recording. Like what I love about some of them is the production quality. I feel as though it gives a better quality product to the people that are going to potentially pay to watch it.
Yeah. I was going to say that too.
Yeah.
I think when they're paying and I think anytime you have a chance for a technological, you know, not necessarily advantage, but just technology at your disposal, I feel like you should take the opportunity to use it. Like if I can make this show better by skipping the time it would take for me to walk over to the laptop, scroll through to the next song by just putting a wipe on my screen and going to the next song, it's saving you a couple of seconds, you know, like, so it's a technological advantage that we all benefit from. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. We had, there were lots of barriers with all this like technology going on. Cause you like from the organizer side, you have, if you're doing a live performance, you got to teach somebody how to use this specific tool that we're using, and they're streaming to an ingest so that we can see them before it goes live. And then we have this kind of like little green room experience where we make sure that everything's coming through and that they're ready and we can set their levels a little bit and then we count them in and then we set them live. You know, it's like TV through the internet. And not everybody was capable of doing that. So for one, we didn't want to alienate people who couldn't do that. So if they were able to make a, you know, high quality YouTube video, we were asking, you know, okay, make sure that it's exclusive to us. Make sure it hasn't been previously released before. Don't just give us some random thing that you made 2 years ago, you know. And if it's exclusive, that's still pretty exciting. And then we were also asking, you know, let's put your pre-recorded content in a time slot where you're able to be in the chat. You know, maybe you can't stream live, but let's at least have you interact with the viewer base to be like, hey, you know, and especially if we were doing music and we were doing panels because we were doing a full virtual convention. And for panels, the pre-recorded stuff can actually be super beneficial because like you were saying, you get a higher quality product. Because how many times have you been to a panel where somebody had to like backpedal and go to another slide because they forgot to say something or somebody asked a question? You know, they can like edit it down to make it really linear and clean and more concise. And then also the because of the format of Twitch, the Q&A that would normally happen at the end can kind of happen in real time in the chat. If they're in the chat while their pre-recorded talk is happening, they can, you know, as they say a particular point, oh, I'll just drop in this link here that's in my slide. And then here's my notes that you guys can look at. So there's some advantages to it for sure for pre-recorded. We definitely prioritized live, especially when it came to music, because we do like the interactive element. Like, come on, guys, let me see some, you know, fire emojis, you know, all that kind of fun stuff. And
It's always the fire emoji.
yeah, that stuff is really fun.
That's what it is. I can see
You can
the
see
fire
it.
emoji.
But we wanted to include as many people as we could because not everybody can do the live thing, especially for people who the technology was a barrier or just the whole idea of a virtual performance was really new. You know, people come like myself, even coming from like traditional live performances. There's a lot to learn there.
Yeah, and to be fair, right? Like it's a huge learning curve streaming isn't just something that's really simple. You have to think about the fact that there's the technology. You have to think about the fact that the people not only have to know what technology to use, but they have to be able to connect, right? You have to keep in mind that not everybody's internet at home, because for some reason, I'm gonna throw this out there, because internet should be a utility.
Yeah.
Right.
The fact that not everybody's internet is equal. There are so many things that put other people on unfair footing, right?
Yep.
And that part is also saying that because they can't fit these things, that they can't give you the best representation of themselves. And that's why, as much like we did a lot of live shows, but I really loved it when I was able to give them enough time to represent them the way that they wanted to be represented, rather than the last thing you remembering of them is their internet going out.
Right. Yeah. It's like, oh man, it was a choppy show.
And I've had that
I mean,
happen
like,
too.
Yeah, it's happened, especially if you're on Wi-Fi. Like, if there's any performers that are looking into doing streaming shows, get that Ethernet. It is going to be your best friend.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi is
Yeah.
the Wild West.
Hardwired.
Yeah,
Oh, God, no.
hardwire, always.
I will say,
Oh, like live versus. Yeah. And they're like out of your control, which is unfair a lot of times. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, if
And the show,
you play the wrong note,
unfortunately-
that's fine. But if it's like, oh man, my Wi-Fi went out. Yeah, the audio's echoing and backfiring, and it's like, that's
Yeah.
not your fault, and it
And then you
ruins
got
the
to
experience.
technically figure out, like you who just showed up that day, have to figure out how to literally stop that loop from happening. And you're like, oh my God. And then it
Yeah.
crashes.
So we make a very specific effort to keep the element of live going, like even if it's not, we have a green room set up in like Discord with all the artists, and even if you're turning in let's just say somebody had to watch a baby this time, so they did a pre-record set, and we tell them, hey, look, don't chat while we're performing. You chat afterwards. You chat beforehand. It's we keep the element of surprise, so
Sure.
that therefore it feels like a live event.
so it's still like the illusion of it being a live performance.
Absolutely. Like,
It's
you really
just
don't know.
go without a hitch.
But you're there live in chat. Oh yeah, and you record it for that event. So like you said, it's a specific. I'm saying hello MAGFest 2022. Like I'm not be like it's not like I did it 2 years ago, and you're hearing it. You make sure it's very specific to that moment. And yeah, when I try to, on days that I can't stream, that's like the worst thing. I'm like, oh, let me play an old video, and then I'm like, don't worry, it'll be a generic one. And then hello, it's election day, everybody, and I'm like, oh damn it, that clearly is not live. There's an episode of the Simpsons. Sorry, I'll just leave. I'll let you guys. I'll stop again after this. Krusty the Clown's like, play an old episode, and then he comes on. It's like, the Falkland Islands have been bombed. Like,
Question over here.
Yes.
where's the question?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to shout out DJ Cutman as well. When I was first starting to DJ, I was looking for someone who was talking about how to get the best streaming quality for your DJ sets, and I Googled it, and it was literally a DJ Cutman article from like Tech Tools that he did, which showed his setup, and it was super helpful. So I would say that also for any of us that's teaching people IQ, like your knowledge is so vast on this, and you've taught and workshopped with so many artists. So I think even making a YouTube video or a tutorial or writing an article that someone can go and find and be like, oh yeah, IQ's got it right there for me. I think that would be helpful too. So you spend less time on the phone, with people just being
I
like,
spent a lot of
look here,
time on the
go to the
phone.
website. It's right there on my blog, But yeah, like
Did you try turning it off and back on?
Yeah, especially
That
going back
and
to
the-
live going back to live
Yeah.
shows, it's really important that you sound check with all the acts before the stream. And I'm not saying day of, like some acts have to do day of, but we like try to get sound checks done with everyone like a day or 2 days before. mainly to make sure all their stuff's hooked up, so they're not hooking up like right before the stream starts. And two, we also want to know everyone's got different volume levels for output. We want to try to make sure everyone's sounding like they're at the same volume when they're live. So we jot down, okay, here's what their output volume is going to be for this set, and we adjust that during the transitions for the acts. So
there is a thing that I started doing with you guys that I thought was brilliant, right? And I didn't think about doing it before. Was that the pre-screening, like to the opposite channel?
Yeah.
Like the transition screens?
No. Like there was a time that I had to stream to your stream before it was on or something like that.
Yep.
And literally after that, I got a dummy channel just to stream to.
Yeah, that's what we got now.
Yeah, we have.
That's smart.
We call it like the backstage channel.
Because there's no way to test on Twitch without actually doing it.
Yep.
So it's good to have a dummy
I got
channel.
that idea from Josh.
Shout out to Josh.
This is what we need.
Shout out to
everybody
Josh.
just kind of talks to each other. I mean, Josh is an amazing resource, but like just having these conversations, like I think even just me learning a whole bunch of stuff from these guys and just, you know.
Yeah,
like,
it's important, man.
important.
There are so many things that you can learn from everybody else. And at the end of the day, when it comes to streaming, this is kind of open code, man. There is no real like, okay, well, you're my competition. It's more like the more that you're able to do a thing. I love Twitch as a platform for that because it allows you to actually cooperate with other people and be successful because of it.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Like I can raid your channel and bring
Collaboration
people to you to literally see you. And that is an important thing, right? Because it does a thing. It exposes your people to stuff they normally never see, right? It gives them something special, but it also says, because I took you there and showed you this person over here, you're more likely to stay. You know, you're more likely to engage. You're more likely to want to be a part of the community. And I think that's one of the other more important things is that it's especially for those just starting, the most important thing that I get from anybody on this stage, right? Like just through as participating, through watching, I always love the sense of community. I always love the fact that it's a community of people, that there's a place that you can go talk on Discord. And I've watched movies on Rand's channel. I've talked shit on your channel. You know, like it's awesome because like no matter to which community I go, it's all a community of people that have a thing vested in what's going on, and that makes me feel more comfortable because I know like it's a channel full of nerds like me.
Yeah, for sure. So if you guys don't have a Twitch channel, please start one immediately. I think it's just. I think it's just really good to have, you know, and also if you're, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, now you got a job, you got things to go to, things are back open. Yeah, it's a grind. It's like an RPG. Like you really have to put in a serious amount of work on Twitch. You have to commit to it. I've been really bad at it myself. I try to get better and better. I try to commit to an hour or two a day, you know, and it's hard, you know, but
It's
you
not
know,
perfect.
you have to, like, I think just, I don't know. It's nothing really to say. You just got to try to find a way to fit it in. Or if not, you know, find some other source. If it's not Twitch, maybe you're a TikTok guy, you know, you just create funny TikTok videos or things like that, or Instagram.
Right.
But yeah, that it requires a lot of your time. You have a band, right? It's not just you, right? So there you go. Everybody doesn't work the same schedule, do they?
Well, you call Tuesday. You're Tuesday.
You'd say, hey, I'm
She's
Monday.
Wednesday.
You're Tuesday.
He's Thursday.
I
Whatever
think
day.
I'm a solo act, so it's super hard for me. But I think if I was in a band, I'd be like, hey, look, so on Tuesday, you're going to do guitar lessons. On Monday, you're going to, you know, take requests for piano. You're going to do horn run.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
that
saying?
way, it's a small commitment by each person.
Yeah.
Small. And if you need to do it where every week you choose days, it takes less time to do it that way than to be like, I got to do everything. Like, no, actually, we're all going to take a
you got
day
a
or we're all
bunch of
going to take
folks.
some time. And most importantly, when you fall, bro. Like, be honest with your audience and be like, yo, I wasn't in it. I was out doing A, B, and C, but I'm back trying to do this, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not the, I guess, the output, it's the effort. right? And if you tell them and you're honest with them and say, hey, you know, this might happen once a month. I might see you every now and again. They'll at least know, like, okay, well, you know what? I might not see him in 2 months. I'm going to jump on.
Yeah, it's true.
You get what I'm saying? They're there to see you and what you guys do because they like what you do. So therefore, like, it's more of a letdown because I'd rather have you once every 3 months than not at all.
Yeah, I mean, for our organization, we're really small. There's no way we could commit to doing like a weekly stream. We just don't.
Yeah.
We don't have the infrastructure for it. The people don't have the free time for it. So if you can commit to a schedule that's once a season, even once a year, and then just pour your heart into that, like, that's better. You know, people will show up for that.
Yeah.
They know it's coming. They can plan for it. You
It's
can make
great
it,
We can
promo.
look
make
forward
it
to it.
special.
If you got that one Christmas show every year, then we know to look forward to that Christmas show the whole year. And no matter how much time you have, you can plug that one Christmas show. Like, yo, it's November, but don't forget, we got
You can
this.
start in September. You start marketing your Christmas show in September. I'll be on the lookout.
All right.
We'll know.
Are you gonna take questions, Ken?
I'm going to ask you guys one more question. We'll take a couple questions and plug some upcoming concert streams coming up. So the last question, I guess, before we start getting into things, because we're near the end of our time, as things start to open up, I guess things have opened up. People are going to movies, they're going to sporting events, they're going to concerts in person, they're going to conventions. If you're continuing to do virtual concerts, what do you think the challenges will be to make sure people stay home to tune into what you guys are doing?
Now it's the opposite problem, right?
Yeah,
Like,
the opposite.
Now we're trying to get people to
Get
stay
people
home
to stay
and watch
home.
our show.
I think you got to make them an event, you know, and I think that's what we've been able to do. Like, all right, so speaking of, we got one coming up. I think we're going to do a Valentine's one for February. You know, we did Boxing Day, so we're probably going to do every 2 to 3 months whenever there's an interesting holiday or concept. So you have to make them an event. And that's something that, you know, a planner told me a while ago. It's like every time you do something, it has to be special. It can't be like, all right, here's the thing I'm doing every Tuesday. It's like, no, this is Tuesday extravaganza, you know? So
Tuesday the 10th.
yeah, it's got to be like, this is the only time you're going to see this. Like, so I think people have to work on their promotional efforts and step it up. New artwork every time, new concept, new theme, new video game, new holiday, whatever. You got to do whatever you can to make it easy. And, you know, if people are back to work, then you got to work on within their schedules, like make them Saturday afternoon events, you know, sometimes and things like that. Make it easy for people with families. Like, do whatever you can, I think, scheduling wise, to make it a special thing that does not happen all the time. It has to be very clear to someone.
Oh, and I would also say, to ride on that, is also the same way that you put the effort into asking. For example, you guys, you are big on, if the people ask for this person, you want to give the people what they want, right?
Yeah.
But the communication part also comes with, you know, hey guys, this, you know, with everything going on, we need to verify or put down a day, right? Putting something in place where people feel like they have some type of vested interest, meaning that if you care and say, like, look, if everybody said Tuesday, right, we're going with Tuesday, and giving them the ability to put their you know, their 2 cents in the same way, it works just as well.
We find putting out fan surveys every now and then to see how people feel about things has been massively helpful for helping structure our events.
Yeah.
I think the best way to keep people going to the digital events is try to highlight what digital events can do that in-person events can't do. And that's going to be things like bringing in international guests who
Yeah, that's
can't
been
travel
Yep.
to your in-person event. You know, that's like a logistical nightmare, but for them to stream to you is super easy, especially if they're already streamers. You can do things in Discord, like have game nights. You can have little contests. You can have Q&As. So there's so many things that you can do with a digital event that you can't do in person. So I think it's just a question of how can you kind of teach the average convention attendee that those things exist, and if they don't already know that, and how they can kind of see, oh, this is kind of a different thing. It's not like a electronic replacement for this convention model that we all know and love. It's like a new thing that can do things that something like where we are right now can't do. And it's something that we should, you know, add to our list of things that we like to do. And it's like a different experience, something you can look forward to in a different way.
That's a good point.
All right, we'll take a couple of questions. Anyone have any questions that we can ask over there? Mon.
Yes. I'm asking this question for a friend. So for somebody who, my friend, who is virtually exclusively and is nervous about performing in front of people, what advice would you give to my friend?
You've already performed in front of people. You just couldn't see their faces.
You
Yeah.
just gotta do it. Maybe start in front of small crowds, maybe a group of friends that you trust very well, and keep growing that. And I think Twitch gives a great platform because you can stream, but you don't know who's watching you. So you don't have that like anxiety of like just people judging you while you're performing.
I think it depends, because like for some people, I think maybe for me personally, I think it's harder for me to perform in front of a small group of my friends than it is people I don't know.
Agreed.
So I mean, I guess it depends on the type of performer, and I think maybe you guys have more input on that. But me personally, I'm like, if I don't know you and I'm performing, like, oh well, I'll probably never see you again. But if it's like my friend, it's like, oh no, now my friend knows that I'm bad at the thing that I'm trying to do. That's awkward, But just
It is also a trainable skill, like, swimming. Like at some point you have to just jump in the water and try, and you can get better at it as you go along.
I got it. Record yourself. Perform, record yourself, right? Like that is the one thing you can do that if you're afraid to watch other people, right? It tells you everything that you do and take notes, right? Like every mistake, everything that you don't like looking back on it, right? It's just like game footage, right? When we would have basketball games back in the day, we'd watch the teams that we were going to play, but we'd also watch our footage. And my coach, he would literally kind of break things down and tell us what our tendencies were. And so we're in a digital age. Everybody has a cell phone. Record your performance and watch it and take notes.
That's how it is for, I don't know if there are any dancers in the crowd, but if you've ever taken dance lessons, you have a huge mirror in front of you. And you have to look at everything that you're doing in order for it to look right. So even if you don't record yourself, just perform in front of yourself in a mirror will also do the trick, I think.
Any other questions? I'm going to focus on shows real quick if there's no more questions. So we give shout out to our buddy Josh, who could not be here today because he's in Vancouver. He's got a show next Saturday on the Bonus Stage Band Twitch channel. It's got a variety of different artists. Anime Vivi we've had on our shows, the Koopa Kids, Geek Swag. Yeah, they played on a lot of different virtual concerts.
They were here last time, I think.
Baby Jack and a few other acts that I'm not familiar with, so I'm going to check it out to just see some new different acts.
Well, Anime Vivi was on one of ours.
Yeah, Anime Vivi's awesome. You should definitely check him out. He's cool. So I'll be on the Bonus Stage Van channel. Then coming up, we just put out this morning our details for our next show, Virtual Ongaku 12. We're still finalizing the lineup, but Lex Deluxe kind of artists will be on it. This will be January 29th on twitch.tv/Ongaku Overdrive. Grayson, who's right there and performing tonight on main stage at 6 p.m. He'll be on the show. And we're going to have Doug Perry or his band Disco Cactus. He's letting us know what the deal is going to be. We're still waiting to hear back from a couple of different people, but if you have not, if they don't reach out to us, we're going to move on. So we have an application link on the Ongaku Overdrive website. If you are performing or looking to perform on our virtual shows, I got business cards if you guys want to go on there and fill out the performer application. We also got a live show on March 5th, Orlando, Florida, at the Abbey. Tickets available now. Bit Brigade doing Mega Man 2, the one-ups who we've never had before. Lane Genie, a really popular virtual Ongaku act that fans let us know that they liked so much that we're going to bring them to Orlando. So there's a pathway from virtual Ongaku to playing in Orlando live if people really like you.
Lame Genie is an example of how you take your virtual performances or your pre-recorded performances and still making them exciting.
Those are live though. Those guys do their stuff live, but like they make it so fun and exciting, as close to a live concert as possible. So that's a band I recommend looking at for their live shows if you want to reference on how to improve your live concerts on Twitch or any other internet platform. Then Megaran said that they got a show with the Four-Eyed Horsemen Valentine's.
Yeah, we haven't announced yet, so you're the first to know about it. But
I don't have a graphic. I didn't know about it until like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I didn't know about it till a text I got an hour ago.
And then last but not least, VGM Con. Austin is coming up April 1st through 3rd in Minneapolis. So what can people expect from that event?
So there's actually a lot of people that you can bump elbows this weekend that are also going to be performing with us at VGM Con. That's going to be pretty awesome. Lacey's going to be there, and some other people that I haven't announced yet. Gunder Slam's back there. What's up, my dude?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, if you guys saw VGM Con Line back in April, a lot of those folks are going to be returning either in person or digitally. This is going to be a hybrid event, so we're going to be streaming kind of our third stage on Twitch for folks who either aren't able to appear in person or aren't comfortable appearing in person. We're being super respectful of that. We're going to have a really similar COVID policy to MAGFest as far as your expectations there. We're going to keep it super clean, super safe, just like you would want. And yeah, it's going to be a super fun time. Panels, concerts, all kinds of fun little mini activities in between. And we're really excited about it.
So there you go. So that's actually a cool idea. So you're going to have a room where there'll be virtual concerts so people can watch them online, or people at the convention can go into this space to watch these virtual shows.
Exactly. Yeah, we're going to stream them into like a theater type setting. So it's almost like its own little concert hall for the stream. We really want to give the digital performers as much of a platform as we would the physical performers.
That sounds great. So there you go.
So here's a weird question. Oh, I'm sorry. If you have another thing.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Here's a question. Like if I was out there, this is what I would say. I would ask. So just imagine me being out there. All right. So hi, I'm an artist, big fan of all of you guys, but just starting off, doing stuff online. How do you feel about conventions or festivals or things like that also choosing to live stream their concerts? Do you feel like that's a good idea? Do you feel like it should be exclusive to being in person at that place, or what? How do you guys feel?
I have an answer to that question because PAX would always stream their concerts, and that's how I first discovered Bit Brigade and Super Guitar Pros, who we brought to Orlando immediately after that.
Nice.
So me being able to watch concert streams for events I can't be at are massively important to me, and I imagine for a lot of fans, those are huge too. Though with PAX, they got actual sponsors that pay for that stream time. Like they have ads that run through their stream throughout the event, so they're not just giving that away for free. Like companies are paying for that.
Oh, well, I didn't realize that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, for us, we don't have like the professional quality live stream like someone like MAGFest's operation, where you've got like zooming and multiple camera angles and all these dynamic elements. So to give away the quality of our live stream for free doesn't feel as bad. There's definitely a lot that you're missing out on, and we would kind of hope that by giving away a free version of the concert, we're a small event. It gets our name out there. It gets the artist's name out there, especially if they're not a big, huge artist already. And hopefully encourages them like, wow, there's definitely something here. Maybe I should check this event out, because that's kind of the point that we're at in our development. So we're totally cool with giving away that free live stream. I definitely see how you might want to create barriers as time goes on, but ultimately you want to give the people what they want, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm completely for giving the show for free, letting people stream it. If the quality of what you do is good, they're gonna want to come. Why limit your numbers and like the amount of people that can see your performers perform and potentially book them? So I'm all for showing, because I know that the experience in building, watching MAGFest at home will never be like being at MAGFest.
That is
and
a fact.
every person here knows it.
Yeah.
So I'm confident. I'm sorry. But yeah,
I like that.
watch it, because you'll come.
Yeah, if it weren't for like pre-recorded and like live streams of shows, like I wouldn't have even thought about coming to MAGFest. But because of seeing a lot of those performers on main stage, like, oh, I want to be there. Like I want to see those. So if you can get those to bring people to the live events or bring people to the paid events, then yeah,
Nice.
I'm totally for it too. As a
Think
consumer.
about the reach on these streams nowadays days. You are reaching people around this planet. You are posting the stuff that happens with this, meaning that it is literally promoting for you 24 hours a day. You can't do that in a physical space. When it's done, it's done. But when you put it up online in great quality, it is there. I'm willing to bet you there are still videos of concerts. Somebody came to me the other day and was like, yo, I watched your whole concert from last night and it was great, right? You can't do that when you just do a live event and it's just that. So like there are other advantages to having both.
Definitely. One last thing I want to say before we wrap it up. I really love doing these virtual concerts the last 18 or so months. I've met a lot of awesome people online through that. And then having a tie here to MAGFest where I'm meeting people for the first time ever that I've gotten to work with on shows like 88-Bit or Terra C Music or Gunderslam back there. That has been super fulfilling, and seeing everyone getting the chance to perform in front of people this weekend that have been doing these shows exclusively online for so long. I feel like it's just like a kind of like a graduation, you know, like just going to that next level. And I'm glad that I was able to have a hand in a lot of people's success during this time, as well as Alyssa, and just seeing everyone come together and like celebrating what they have this weekend has been incredibly magical to me.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so that's the panel. I want to thank Austin, Megaran, IQ, and Alyssa, and all you guys for coming through.
Thanks for coming, y'all.
There's still plenty of MAGFest to enjoy. I'll be outside if anyone wants to talk. Otherwise, Grayson's got a set. So I think some of you guys are going to be on that, right?
Well, I'm gonna be there.
All right, you're going to be there. Alyssa, you got a concert with your group tomorrow, right?
Yeah, we're performing at 2:40 at the lobby bar.
It's,
So
her group's called Royalty.
yeah, please come check us
Nice.
out.
And you got a concert tomorrow, right, Megaran?
Tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Yes.
There you go. So enjoy the rest of your
Hey,
MAGFest.
last thing, man, real quick.
Oh, yeah.
You brought up why am I forgetting his name all of a sudden?
Josh?
No. Disco Cactus.
Oh, yeah, Doug Perry.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, VGM together. That
Yo,
was awesome.
shout
out
out to Doug Perry and VGM together. Shout out.
That was awesome.
All right, now we're ready to end the panel. You all have a great day, all right?
Thanks for coming.
Yay!